time it has
grassed over.
and probably into most of them are 8 feet around.
What about all the trees hanging down?
The what?
The trees hanging down in the alley, because this is a pretty big machine.
Yeah, well, of course, we need to trim some trees too, I mean, that's all the stuff we need to get to probably in spots, but you know, we got the box blade too, that'll help us, we can windrow it somehow, you know, the box blade can catch the windrow and drag it to, you know, fill in where it needs.
Roger, do you know, does Hillsborough have a motor grader for their city staff on
I
that?
do not have that answer.
I said, no, if it was something that we could, you know, that we would be able, if we purchase it, that they would have an interest in using from time to time, that we could lease to them, or,
I'm guessing they have one.
I don't know if they have one or not.
They used to.
Hillsborough has one probably similar to what you're looking
Do you think this would be a better purchase than a street sweeper?
Well, I can tell you, I don't feel comfortable going on Purple Wave to buy a machine, because so many hidden things. And if you go to a cat dealer, so to speak, you're gonna pay the premium price, you know, top of anything, and you're still not gonna have no warranty.
Well, there's no warranty with this one, is there?
Right, but my point is I think we can buy it right from them, versus going to a cat dealer, you might pay 10 grand more.
What would transportation costs be, if you pick one up on Purple Wave, I mean, how much are you paying to get it trucked here to town?
Well, it'd probably be $5 a mile, wherever it's at, right now.
Transportation's a good question, because if we needed to repair this grader, which could be in 7 years according to how they repaired it, would we take it to Wichita?
Yeah, I would have to go to Wichita if any, or they come out on site too if it ain't nothing major. And Tom at the county has offered, if we have trouble, he can help us troubleshoot it if we have problems somewhere. But I'm hoping with all the money spent on it, the main components all last a long time.
Well, according to their figures, it was repaired in 2013.
That's correct.
That's 16 years old, okay? And at this point, in 2021, if we added 13 or 22, if we added the 13 years, it would be scheduled for repair and replacement in 2029. That's
Well-
only 7 years away.
They use a road grader a lot different than we do in
Yeah,
the city.
that would've had around 11,000 hours on it when they did this repair of general, everyday grade roads, and after they got this done, they told me that it was retired to their, after they did this, it run on the route a little bit, then it become their blade patch machine, so that's why it didn't get the hard use, and for that time up till now, it's just been their backup, and then their blade patch machine, that's why they have the 12-foot blade on it.
So you don't think it's gonna need repair in 7 years?
I can't promise you that,
Well, I'm
but,
not asking for promise, I'm asking for your.
but I mean, it had the good, you know, the major components that then went through, which are the expensive ones. And you hope not, I mean, they have another one there he told me you don't want, cause it does have transmission issues, so, I mean, you know, I just pass on, and he can't promise you the world either, but, anywhere else you buy one, they're not gonna promise you the world either.
Have you tried it out yet?
No, I have not,
Okay,
but,
well, it's gonna have very minimal use compared to what the county uses.
yeah, this will be easier to use.
I mean, it's just, it'll probably sit there the majority of the year and not be used, but when they need it, the way they need it. You know, it's just a piece of equipment that,
They'd probably save you on your loaders now too,
You can, yeah, if you
and
can,
that's getting some hours on it.
you can do a lot of rip work with it and clean up with the loader, I mean, there's different things you can do.
So how we gonna pay for this?
That's what I was gonna ask, can we
Okay.
afford it?
Okay. I attended the county commissioners meeting this afternoon and spoke to them about it. Their policy has been to liquidate equipment through Purple Wave. They agreed today that they instructed Bryce to keep this one off of the Purple Wave auction. I believe it's necessary to offer this piece of equipment to all cities within Marion County to see who has an interest in it, and then they will accept sealed bids for whoever the respondents are that are interested in this particular model. As I shared with the county commission, we've gone through and I pulled up all of the motor graders that have sold through the Purple Wave auction in the last 15 months in this vintage, okay, how old it is, okay, 96 and 98 units. And that gave us an average price, and I did share that with the county commission. Where they're at is, they will issue within the next week to all of the cities, an inquiry as far as interest from other cities, and then go through. We would then submit a bid based on what we believe is fair market value for this particular unit. The way that we finance it, with the sale of 828, we, the blue building, okay? The proceeds from that were not budgeted this year, so that can be used to offset the budget amendment for the first half payment on a lease purchase agreement, when we would go to our local banks and secure a lease purchase agreement for a 2-year. We'll make the one payment this year out of the proceeds that we've got and budget accordingly next year for it. So there is, while this particular piece of equipment was not budgeted, because of the additional revenues that we already have, we can fund the budget amendment to grant the authority to pay for this.
And when you said bids go out to other cities, any city can bid?
Only cities in Marion County,
Okay.
okay? The county, their philosophy was, taxpayers have already paid for it once. They don't wanna give that benefit to other counties.
Counties, okay.
But within cities, whatever we reimburse, then yes, it comes to our taxpayers, but the county receives the value back on this unit.
Okay.
And forego that. So this evening, we really can't do the offer, but we would like a motion of instruction. First, is this a product that you would, or excuse me, equipment that you would be willing to support? And then the second would be to authorize us to execute a letter of interest with a fair market value bid.
Is there, and maybe this is more of a question for you, Tim, is there any other piece of equipment that you think we need more than a grader that, I mean, when we're talking about using some proceeds from that, I don't know, I'm just trying to think like, basically, is this the best use of the funds?
Well,
This is something that we think we need and this is the opportunity.
I mean, really, it's the last thing of our heavy equipment that could be upgraded. I mean, our loader's in pretty good shape, you have to get in a lot of hours. Need to be looking down the road probably on that eventually here, but backhoe's good. I mean, we got our box blade. I mean, it's really our last piece of heavy equipment that needs some attention, cause it's just sitting there.
Yeah, and the budgeted item, large ticket item, is the tractor that can load the levee, and that was already budgeted this year. It's in there. There's cooperative money coming from the drainage board for that purchase. Okay, this acquisition would be completely independent of that. We wouldn't be using the funding that we've set aside for that.
Roger, would there be a chance, you said we'd address this at budget time for the next payment? Is there a chance to raise the mill levy? Will this raise the mill levy? Do you know?
I would not anticipate that being required at all. And when we looked at even the option of rental, by the time we rent one and have it delivered, it's hard to justify what we could do on a lease purchase.
And when are the sealed bids due to the county?
Their decision today was they instructed the county clerk to send them out within the next 2 weeks, and they'd make a decision the week after that. So we're still 3 weeks out, which would give us the April 18th meeting that we can
Make a
discuss it.
decision.
Any other questions? I would move to there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-1. Number 12,
Thank you.
community sign policy clarification.
The community sign is a quick refresher. It's the electronic sign that we, the funds were raised through the Pride Committee. Gene Winkler served as the chair of that fundraising effort. At the time that Pride donated it to the city and then we took over the maintenance of it, the agreement was Gene would continue to work as the administrator on that with city staff having full access to it. We developed a policy that has served us well to this point. Unfortunately, I need to look to the council for what we've done in practice and make sure that you're acceptable in changing the definition of our community. Up to this point in time, we've only advertised events that occurred within our zip code trade area 66861, okay? Which is basically this city and the two lake communities. We are now getting requests that we advertise events and venues that are located in other cities within the county, believing that since our citizens benefit from whatever information is being shared, even if it's in the Peabody Library or Tabor College, that we should be putting that on our sign. I'm looking to you all for direction. We'd like to modify the definitions that we would define community, which was not defined previously, and that area defined as all of 66861 zip code, and that would be the events we put on the community sign moving forward.
Which would basically leave it the way that it is, correct? 66861.
If we leave it the way that our practice has been,
Right.
it just formalizes it in writing. I went back, this is almost 2 years. The only event that I found that was advertised outside of our community was advertised when the COVID vaccines. We advertised the lake hall for this, and we included when Tabor had their, but both of them were listed. That's the only time that there's been a community event advertised that was outside of the zip code.
I kinda like it the way it is, 66861.
Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion from someone to define a community service of zip code area 66861 with a sign.
I so move.
Second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. Carried 5-0. Number 13, review of property condition 413 South 4.
I'll have Brian speak to the procedure and then I'll discuss the condition of the property.
Certainly. I had the opportunity to speak with Chief Jeffrey regarding this property. The reason I asked for it to be, and call it an informal review pursuant to the city code with the council, is this is the first of what I anticipate to be a few properties that we're gonna have to take some action on. Specifically, this property and then a few that are down the road. We have issues with homeowners or tenants of properties not maintaining adequate sanitary facilities for disposal. Effectively, they don't have water up and running to dispose of household waste and other issues related to plumbing. We have at least one property, this one including, and potentially another, that hasn't had electrical hookups for quite some time. We have generators running electricity throughout homes to outbuildings that are creating some fire hazards and some other risks. That are frankly just violations of the building code that we have. This particular property has tires that are just littering the property. old furniture that would be considered blights or nuisance on the premises. So the reason I asked for this to be brought forth to the council's attention is that our code allows for the public officer to move forward, essentially starting a condemnation style action on the property, requiring either the property owner or the tenants to clean up the property to make it suitable for living again, and something that does not create a health hazard for our community. Ultimately, if there's an issue or a challenge to the determination by the public officer, it'll come back to the council for a potential formal hearing. It's my understanding upon review and speaking with Roger and Chief Jeffrey, that this procedure really has not been used in quite some time by the city. So I felt it an appropriate action to bring it before the council, notify you it is our intention to move forward with this process, and hopefully address any questions that any of you may have. Because as we go forward with this, there could be questions you get. There's certainly gonna be at least one other property that's kind of on the radar that we're gonna be moving forward on this. And our goal, the intention, is not to punish people, it's simply to bring properties back into compliance to create a safe environment in the city. So that's how I intend to proceed with this, but again, I wanted to make sure it was on your radar in case there were questions or concerns.
So would this be something we'll table until the next meeting?
I don't believe at this point there's any real issue to table anything. Again, I've been working with Chief Jeffrey. We intend to issue a new, essentially notice to handle the outstanding issues. And then if not proper action is taken within the allocated time period, it'll more than likely be before the council.
Okay.
Yeah, like Brian said, our goal is not to punish the people, it's just to get them in compliance, so if they're able to fix the issues, we like that to happen, therefore we don't have to go through this process, at all. And the condition of the property, Brian kind of, alluded to it, but, the lack of utilities, it's been over a year, since they've had adequate utilities. Officers have been in there previously, and there's extension cords running off the generator outside to outbuildings and, create a fire hazard. And then lack of sanitary facilities, is also an issue. And then there's a vehicle outside that's up on jacks, and then numerous debris, scattered all over the yard and property. So that's the gist of the conditions of that property.
There was a vehicle in the garage today without a tag on it.
I'm sure there'd be,
And there was a gentleman out in the yard this morning when I went by.
yeah, that's quite possible. There are vehicles come and go from there from time to time.
Is somebody living in there now?
I believe so, but, I mean, we've
You
not,
don't know?
right, we've not, had contact with anybody in a while that's been in there, but I would imagine, so.
Okay. So
We'll just proceed.
Give another notice.
Right.
okay.
We'll give notice, both to any potential tenants that we either know of, or, the Jane Doe, John Doe notice as well. And then we'll use the official records of the county to notify the property owner themselves. It's our prerogative, we wanna cover as much notice as possible to anybody involved with the property before we take it to the next step. And again, our goal is simply compliance. Clean it up, get water running, get electricity, let's not create a fire hazard. Make sure we don't have people living in outbuildings where they shouldn't be living. And if we can't bring it into compliance, we'll take it on to the next step.
Okay. All right.
And that's when council will be engaged in the process.
Quite potentially, yes.
Okay. Any questions? Number 14, request to extend sales agreement on 204 Boston in Industrial Park. Margo?
I'm speaking on behalf of the buyers of the agreement. They would like to extend this out. There was a miscommunication with the title company, and they had their money on Friday, but we couldn't get the title work done.
But the contract's expired, correct?
Says the transaction shall be closed and seller shall give buyers possession on April first or an earlier date as agreeable to both parties.
So there's an expiration, the contract's no longer valid then, that we currently have with it, correct? Okay. Brian, what do we do about that? New contract?
I mean, really, it's up to what the council decision is. You can certainly grant an amendment to the contract to extend time for closing. You can deem the contract invalid, at which point you can either renegotiate with them or you negotiate with whoever's interested in the property.
Okay.
Is there plan still to move forward with the RV and boat storage?
But
Yeah, I have, we had a site plan in the file when we thought they needed zoning. And so I have that, you know, if you need me to add something more to this, I could.
well,
Okay, since the contract has expired on April the first and they have earnest money on file, does the city receive that $500?
I think we can retain it, can't we, according to the contract?
The sales agreement does not say that, we retain.
It's not their fault.
Explain retain.
Hey, it's not their fault, why should we penalize them?
Pardon?
It's not their fault, it's delayed. So why penalize them?
But it is their fault, because they notified Margot, or Margot notified them 2 weeks before the contract expired, that it was gonna expire on that April first. And they didn't reply to that until March the 28th.
So I thought the problem was with getting title insurance.
Well, that's because Roger Hannaford said, he spoke for Security One, that he couldn't do the paperwork, being notified on the 28th, and they would have had to close the next day, which was Friday.
They never contacted Roger to start the process of title insurance. But the other thing is it's my understanding that it's not, if Mark Evans wants to take it over.
No, they changed that back. They went back and forth about that last week, but they're gonna leave it exactly like this. They've had some other things going on, they've moved and bought a house and have another baby, they've got things going on, and so there was a little discussion, but they're fine. To leave it alone. They've got the cash to pay for it, and they'd like to proceed.
They don't have a business plan on file with that?
We did not require one, we require a site plan for zoning.
For zoning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And, you know, like I said, if you want some other little clause put in here, maybe that'd take care of your concern.
So you're talking about a new contract?
Well, if you wanna change, if you wanna add something, yeah, otherwise I think an Brian, help me.
So they're amendment or addendum? Either way.
Addendum or amendum, yeah, I can't talk, but yeah. And then we just change the date, right?
Change the closing. I would think that an amendment would be simpler than trying to contract.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to amend the contract to extend it to April 8th.
April 8th?
Isn't that what this says?
Yeah, I was gonna,
April 15th, I'm sorry.
they can get it done this week, I was just gonna go the 15th, just to kind of make sure, didn't have to ask again, you know?
I move to extend it to April 15th.
Okay. I'll read the motion back, so everybody, make sure everybody heard it.
I just have Costello move to extend to April 15th.
Okay. With an addendum to the contract.
Amendment.
An amendment to the contract.
Mr. Costello, would this be acceptable? I move to amend the sales agreement with Brett and Ashley Unruh on the property located at 1004 Mott to allow for a closing on or before April 15th, 2022.
That's what I said.
I thought that's what you said, I didn't quite understand.
You did good, Chris.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moving second, any further discussion? We'll call for the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign,
No,
motion carried, 4-1.
Thank you.
Okay.
I will say, I learned a few things,
Good.
yes.
Always a good thing. Number 15, council department staff reports, I'd like to start off with. I think you all received an email from Roger in regards to, Core Community. And, Core Community takes the place of the Circles program, and I attended their meeting last Thursday night. And this is really good, they're not asking for handouts from us at all. It's just to educate us to what they're wanting to do. I must say that, they served an excellent meal, so if you wanna go to the next one this Thursday, and you'll get a really good meal out of it. I just wanted to let y'all know that, what their purpose is they're there to help from families get out of poverty. And, I think, I told them that the city would support them in maybe locating families or helping out with that. I know we have utilities building, where we experience some issue with families who's not able to pay it, but, I just wanted to bring you up to date on that and let you know what that was all about. And I'd encourage you, if you wanna learn about it, they meet at the, Mennonite Church over at, Hillsboro, every Thursday at 7 o'clock. So and you can contact Tracy Lowe and let her know you're coming. She would like to have an RSVP from you. And if you're interested in a number for her, it's 720-971-7133. Actually, that is something that might go into what we were talking about with Larry Payne. That could be one thing to reduce the poverty of some of the families here in town, so that could be an objective for us. So that's all I have. Anyone else?
I heard from a